Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome back to another edition of Noles Anonymous. As always, I'm your host Drake, but today in the stream yard, I got one of my best friends, mi hermano, Mr. Maximus Moodicus, aka Max Moody, of also the Battle's End. Max, what's going on, my guy?
A lot, man. A lot is going on. It's. I apologize for the sound quality. I actually have a lot of recording equipment. It's just all in Tallahassee, and I'm in Atlanta. But
She goes to a different school, is what he's trying to tell you.
yeah.
So,
She's friends with my cousin. Yeah. Um, but yeah, man. A lot's going on. A lot's going on with you. I don't want to bore people with our personal lives because they're here to talk about football. But it is wild to think. 3 years ago, it all started with a podcast. This very podcast. Noles Anonymous rolled into a national podcast. Two job changes, a big move, uh, engagements, weddings, all that stuff in between. And now we're here, back to where it all started. So it's exciting stuff, bro. I'm glad y'all included me in this.
I mean, the Holy Trinity would not be nothing without you, Dave, and myself. And come on, the Holy Trinity of Florida State football. That's who we are. That's who we aim to be with Noles Anonymous. But enough of that noise. Enough of sentimentalities. Max, you've been around the team a lot more than probably majority of people that cover the team. You've been there in your capacity with the Battles End. I kind of want to start off with basically seeing how does the team look on a global scale to you as opposed to a season ago.
So they're going to be good at football. I'm not really I don't know a ton about football. I don't think I probably do, but now I spend time with people who actually know football, and it's like I don't know what I know, but I have seen this team practice, and I've seen every Florida State team in person since 1994. I don't really remember that, but I was technically there. They're good. They're really good. I think the consistent talking point is not inaccurate. You have guys at every position that can perform at a very high level, but you also have enough depth across the board where there's no single critical point of failure. There's no caveat. I mean, last year, it was, oh well, if Jordan doesn't get hurt, if Johnny Wilson pans out, if the offensive line improves, all these ifs, and this year it's like there's a lot of known quantities on this team. You know that Johnny's a great receiver. What most people don't know, and that's okay, is so is Keon Coleman. Now you've heard he is, and you told yourself he is, but I'm here to tell you it is not name syndrome, which we patented on this show, right? Where we just say someone's name enough and we're like, oh, I guess he's going to be a superstar. Um, Keon Coleman to me is not a football player. He's a basketball player who has the top end speed of a football player, so he plays this sport. The way he moves in very small amounts of space is freaky, just weird. He does this thing where he leaves his feet to jump. Like, how do I put this? The time it takes for him to be running to in the air is quicker than anything I've ever seen. It's such an effortless move to be 31 inches in the air whenever he jumps the pads on. If he's covered and locked down, well, you have Johnny Wilson. Now here's an interesting wrinkle, Driz. Johnny Wilson's 6'7". I don't know if most people knew that. They don't really say it on broadcast, but that does an interesting thing, right? If you want your best corner to be on a certain receiver, you can do that typically. The problem with 6'7" is what if your best corner is only 5'11", 5'9", even, right? You have to take his height into account versus just what number of their receiver do you want your best guys on, right? Not saying he isn't your best, but you get the point I'm making. So he'll snatch up certain cornerbacks that just because of the size have to cover him, making it even more difficult for defensive coordinators to plan. On the defensive side of the ball, you got, I mean, every position, right? You've got dudes who know what they're doing, who are pretty good at football. You got a strong secondary. You got a group of newcomers in the secondary that are really good. KJ Kirkland he's a freshman out of Rains High School, might be one of the smartest people I've ever met. I don't mean football players. He might be one of the smartest people I've ever met. He's very intelligent. You've got the seasoned veterans in Jarian Jones, Renardo Green, Akeem Dent, who have kind of been here through it all, and they've developed, and now they've got a 7 or 8 time Pro Bowler coaching them, so they've gotten a lot better. Then you brought in a guy like Fintrell Cypress, so like you're good there. Your D line's looking really strong, really solid. I don't know where the weaknesses are on this team, Drake. I know where maybe the argument is like they don't have the Georgia level talent. Okay, Georgia's won back-to-back national championships and is favored to win a third. Okay, maybe that's true, maybe whatever. But you don't have a glaring spot on this team where it's like that is the play, that is the like what is it, the keystone of the arch. If that goes down, you're just it's over.
And I like how you kind of started off with Keon Coleman, like how you illustrated before, where Johnny Wilson was. I think we had a show about it where like this kid, 6'7", elite speed, but he doesn't have the production that matches kind of like those yet. See the full season, he actually does that. He matched, he backed up the talk, backed up the walk. But then you have Keon Coleman coming over from Michigan State. I think 58 catches, I think 798 yards, 7 TDs. Like that is a true proven commodity. And that goes over to Jordan Travis, who you have been the president, el presidente of the Jordan Travis fan club since what, 2021?
Forever. Yeah, I
Since
mean,
forever. I mean, you've been there, and I want you to kinda go to see how you've seen Jordan kind of progress and evolve from that first time you saw him make that run against Boston College a few years ago to where you see him now actually in practice.
yeah, I mean now he plays like a QB1. That's the difference. Full transparency. All I saw before this year were practice videos that everyone else could see. What I felt like with Jordan was that, and obviously I talk to people a lot now, and I can kind of confirm some of this stuff without it being breaking news. But I didn't love the McKenzie Milton bring in, and that was okay. It was what it was. But I was very excited for the next year solely for the reason that Jordan was going to be able to act like a QB1. Like my whole argument, which panned out. I mean, it doesn't mean I'm the smartest guy, but I was right about this one. Was look, when you have a guy that's really good at one thing and could be really good at the other, but needs to develop. So Jordan's running and is passing, and you put him in a winner take all competition, he's going to shy away probably from developing that second thing because you want to put your best foot forward every day. Now, I haven't asked people for exact breakdowns of is that exactly how it went, but I know that him having a full camp last year to say I'm QB1, I can run it every day like QB1. It's okay to just play loose, make mistakes, whatever. It helped him a lot, and now he's doing that, and he's not really making a ton of mistakes. He's just playing loose and um, playing really, really well. So, yeah, his development has been really strong. Again, I don't know, what's the big step for him to take from last year. I mean, I
I
don't
mean,
know.
is there?
I don't know. I don't think. I mean, I don't think so. I think there's obviously always stuff to develop. He's not a Heisman winner yet. He's not. He hasn't been a number one
Keyword is
overall
yet,
draft
Max.
pick.
Keyword is
Exactly.
yet in that sentence you got right there.
Yeah, he's look. Anyone that isn't Tom Brady, and even Tom Brady has stuff to work on, I'm sure. But to my untrained eye, I look at Jordan. I'm just like, that is a really, really, really good quarterback, and we are very lucky to have him on the team.
And I also pointed that you are probably one of the more smarter people because I mean you were the one out there actually doing the full detailed breakdown. Like if he actually had the consistency, the fully healthy season, if you with Bryce Young, I think it was a message between myself, you, and Dave, where actually you broke it fully down. That I mean you kind of were the first one on there to actually put it out there. And also you had more the stats to back it up. Instead of some people out there kind of trying to push that same narrative. But overall with JT, that you've always been kind of in his corner for that.
I think this is probably the finance MBA brain in me, but I look at trends, and I think most people don't. It's the same reason people were out on Norvell, now they're in on Norvell, or they're up on this, they're out on the next season. Most people look at what's already happened and they conflate like just because something hasn't happened yet means there's no way it's going to happen. Now, if you look at the way things are trending and you watch Jordan play quarterback, there was a lot there to like, and his numbers weren't that bad. He just kept switching with McKenzie. He also again did have some injury issues. Um, that happens, but if you looked within the actual information, you looked at what you were seeing. It wasn't a black and white situation, and he really just hasn't changed that much. He's just polished what he was already good at. He's gotten the opportunity to showcase it more, and he's a good quarterback.
So then let's go to Mike Norvell now at this point.
Sure.
You've seen him. I think one of the first episodes we had a title we called it Buddy, This Isn't Memphis. And that was after I think the Georgia Tech game, I think was the first game we had. And then we see the recruiting wise. Fast forward now one to this is what, year 4 at this point?
Yeah.
And he is hands down probably one of the best coaches in the country, one of the hot ticket coaches in the country now with an FSU team that could be vying for a CFP spot by the end of the year. What have you seen with Mike Norvell over the course of those seasons that kind of like allows fans to now actually fully put their faith in him? Because like you're right, there are a lot of people out there, for the first 2 or 3 seasons that were concerned about the direction, concerned about how he's handling the team. But now it seems that this is hands down Mike Norvell's team. This is the best team FSU has had since maybe 2014.
Well, it's just okay. I'll give you an example. I'm now, if you look at a golfer, or like I guess the football equivalent would be a kicker, right? look at their misses, and that's really how you can judge the skill, right? Like, is there anything that happens when a golfer misses that's scary? Of like, if that rears its head during a tournament, he's going to shoot 42 over, right? Mike Norvell never had any of that, and that's again, I love getting the arguments on Twitter. I mean, dude, do you realize how asinine it was that like we had people in this fan base ready to fire a coach over one recruit? A recruit, a high school kid, made a decision to go play football somewhere else, and people were calling for a head coach's job. And some of that is like, not to talk down to anybody, but like what goes into being a head coach is a lot bigger than just talking to one recruit. I mean, there is a lot that it takes to get this program to where it is. I've been fortunate enough now, and y'all can go watch our Battles in content, but I've gotten to talk to a lot of the guys who were here during the transition period. And look, it was tough. I mean, for example, I don't know what time Willie Taggart had practice, but I know it was in the afternoon sometime. I don't know, 10:30, 11, 2. I don't know. But I know that when Mike Norvell got here, he said, hey, by the way, in January, we're going to wake up at 6 a.m. Sorry, not wake up. Tour of duty starts at 6. We're going to hi, I'm Mike Norvell. By the way, you need to be on the goal line in this facility at 6 a.m. in January. Season's in 9 months, right? Like, dude, that's hard to get kids to buy into. So it took time, right, to build that culture. We use that word a lot, but we saw that the trends were going in the right direction. We saw players were playing harder. We went from 3 games to 5 games, up to 9. And again, if you just look at the trends, it was there. Now, what have I seen from Norvell that makes me think that trend will keep going? We'll keep going upward, and we'll have an even better season. It's his lack of letting himself or his team get complacent. I mean, no one on that team right now thinks that they have accomplished enough to hang up the cleats or to coast to the NFL or do any of that. They're hungry. They believe they have the ability to win a national championship this year, and they'll be disappointed if they don't. And I think that speaks to the culture, because it would be easy to go, hey, we won 3 games my first year, now we won 10, we're riding high, and that isn't what you got, and that starts with the head coach.
And listen, I think what we've seen with the culture shift and the kind of the attitude of the team kind of take on the persona of Mike Norvell, a team that doesn't give up, it doesn't quit, it doesn't, like you're saying, doesn't get complacent. And that kind of leads into like the question that me and Dave talked about a few days ago, which was that how excited, like, what is your, like, I guess, expectations for this season? And also, when was the last time you were this excited about FSU football? Like Dave said, it was, I think Boise State was the one he felt kind of excited about. I said the game before Alabama, because even though I wasn't there, I mean, playing against Alabama, like, when was the last time you were this excited about Florida State football?
Yeah, it's probably 2014 going into that season. I mean, I believed that season, as I think most people did, and not just because of fandom, that we had a good chance to repeat. I mean, all the ingredients were there.
And you had Dalvin Cook. You
Right, with
added
Dalvin
him
Cook,
from
you were
to a
starting
championship
against
team.
you're starting against a team who at the time, and they kind of go up and down, whatever. But Oklahoma State was a quality brand, really good team. You're starting against them in Dallas, like you got Jameis Winston back, and it was very exciting. Probably about like that. I think the Alabama game, I don't know. I was excited, but I was very nervous. It was more like hey, what if we won this? And um, anyway, whatever. I don't need to go through each season why I wasn't excited, or as excited as
But
this.
now
But
you're excited. But now
now
you're
I'm the,
super
I'm the
excited.
most excited I've been in 9 years. Yeah, and keep in mind, I'm about to be 31. So like for me to get this excited, it takes a lot more than it took 22-year-old me to get that excited. So it's also like when you factor that in, I mean, I would say it's yeah.
I remember you getting ready for the 2013 opener. You coming into the frat house with you had those seersucker pants on, the nice FSU, the brand new white FSU Fidel polos. Like, okay, it's football season. We're ready. We're here, and that goes also now to expectations. What does Max Moody expect from his Florida State team? You see some. I think you saw Tom Lang not so long ago say that if the team falls short of a CFP, it's a disappointment. I'm not going that far. I think an ACC title a game appearance is kind of what we're striving for at this point. But I want to hear what your thoughts are. What do you expect from this team? Besides, obviously 15-0, obviously, but
Yeah, of course. Well, no, I'm going to answer this in kind of a weird way, but I think now, like
as a
being
tradition.
being where I am and being as close as I am, it's really the only way I can, and that's that. I think I expect this team to play down to down like one of the best teams in the country, and to be one of the best. Like, look, man, it's football. Like this team, a couple things bounce the wrong way, you lose 4 games. Every year you have a team, and it won't be this team. I'm not jinxing us, but like every year you have a team that goes out and loses like 3, 4 games by like 2 points each or whatever, and then they should have won based on post game win probability and all. So things can happen. So I'm not really going to tie it up to like what the final record is, but I think if there were a world where you could say, okay, the variance is going to be set and you're not going to have like anything nuts, I think this should be an or could be an undefeated regular season, an ACC championship. You got to play Clemson twice. Anyone in that room will tell you what I'm about to tell you. Clemson is not a bad football team. They didn't get, I mean, guys, they had a down year and they won 10 games. Okay. We haven't won 10 regular season games since 2014 or 15, 16. Did we win it in
I
16
think
with the,
maybe 15 because I think we made the
I
Peach
can't
Bowl against
remember.
Houston.
Yeah, I
Not
can't.
15.
It was 15. I'm
I think it's
trying to
15.
remember 16 if we won 10 regular season or if it was 9 and then I think we were 9-3 and then it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Point is, it's been a minute and Clemson has been very dominant for a very long time. I think you can beat them this year. I think you can beat them twice, but let's not just like start penciling that one in as a W here. It's going to be a tough game. And if you lose one of those games, the team's not a disappointment. It's not.
It's the beauty of sports, and especially is the beauty of college football. I mean, there's still amateurs actually at this level. It's not the professional football where you kind of know the teams each year in and year out. The Patriots back from 2000 to whenever Tom Brady left and all that sort of noise. So then you kind of look at the ACC landscape as a whole because you're right. Clemson had their first down year in several seasons since like what 26 since 2015, 2014, and like you just said, they still won 10 games, even though they had what was it, Kate Klubnik was the starting quarterback towards the end of the year. Their defensive lines is now totally gone. What do you expect from the other ACC teams kind of, as a whole in the conference? Because also remember, divisionless football starts this season.
What's interesting is I think more teams in the conference matter relative like or because of their impact on our success than have ever mattered in that way in the past, right? Typically it's okay, how's Clemson? If you can get past Clemson, because while yes, they could in one loss prevent us from making the conference championship, we could also make it with 2 or 3 losses if a few things broke the right way, right? So it was like, okay, there's really typically one big obstacle. This year, there's a world where like if we lose to Clemson and then UNC beats Clemson and then do we play UNC?
No, we did not.
Whatever. If some triangle happens and all three of us have one loss, and then there's 2 teams like a Louisville that plays neither of plays neither of us that's undefeated, and then another school that plays neither of us runs the table. It's like I don't know. It makes it way more complicated. I think to watch almost because you're trying to like you're constantly doing what we just had to do in a microcosm there of like okay now we need to map out everyone's schedule like who doesn't play Clemson trying to figure all that out. So from that perspective, it's interesting. From actual quality, I mean, look, I'm not going to sit here and go from hey, we lost 3 ACC games a year ago to we're just going to walk through the ACC like it's nothing. There's a lot of good football teams out there. You got a pretty good NC State team that just, by the way, added the best quarterback Virginia's ever had. So we're going to see how that goes. You got a UNC team who we could see in the conference championship. They've got a possible Heisman Trophy winner, kind of a dark horse there, but a very likely first round draft pick in Drake May. You got Clemson, who's just good at football, and they have been, and they're probably going to keep being good. And then, like I mentioned, you got Louisville, who has a very easy route to get to that championship. And, if they take a spot there, then us and Clemson don't get to rematch each other. So, there could be a world where Louisville goes undefeated in conference, and then out of us, Clemson, UNC, whoever else is undefeated, like takes that second spot, and it does end up being just one crack at Clemson. So, I get a little, I get a little, I have some consternation with the mentality of like, oh, well, if you lose to them in September, that's fine because you'll get another crack at them. Like, that's not guaranteed. You can still stay out of the conference championship with one loss. So I think that game's highly important. But anyway, I'm rambling at this point. That's what I think about the conference.
I mean, it's okay. I mean, like it's kind of like the college football version of MMA math. Like if this team loses, well, this team wins. If this team loses, if this team
Right.
plays a neutral site game, like I mean, it's like literally all over the place. But that's also something like we've wanted for a while because we always talked about how the ACC, the Coastal, it was a joke of a conference with with your Dukes, with your Virginia Tech, Miami. Like they were always the kind of the bottom feeder. Quite honestly, they probably could have even struggled in the Pac-12 if we're being fully transparent here. But aside from the ACC, let's move over to the actual game at hand. This Sunday, you will be there. I will be at a wedding because I love my fiance more than life itself. She better be listening to this right now because I am yeah, it's a tough one. All the boys are gonna be together for the first time except for me. It's great, it's great. I am fine. But you look at the LSU team, Brian Kelly in year 2, you look at year 1, great coaching job. Jane Daniels, a transfer QB, he was there from Arizona State, showed that he actually has the talent and powers, right? Malik Neighbors, a top tier wide receiver. Noah Kane, great running back. I don't need you to give me a full granular take. I gave a very Neanderthal answer the other day. We're like, "Hey, how do you think the game's gonna go?" You know what, Dave? I think we're gonna dog walk them. I think like a 42-27 type of game. How do you feel this game going out from when you sit down over Campbell Stadium?
Yeah, I look. I'm not. I can't, guys. I'm the COO of the freaking Battle's End. All right, I'm not going to tell you you're going to lose this game, but that's also because I don't think you are. That being said, I know very little about LSU's team this year. I've kept up with the headlines. I haven't done a deep dive. I'm not an analyst. I'm not a professional gambler. I don't do any of that stuff. So like, I, I'll just tell you what I don't know. It's not really like I have no need now to do deep dives into teams. Like if I predict this game correctly, if I got the exact score right, nothing changes in my life. And unfortunately,
You'll get a Powerball ticket.
right. Well, but unfortunately, I'm very focused on some other elements of it, and I don't say that to be condescending to anyone who's like, oh, very very much wrapped up in reading about LSU and all that. I'm just saying, that's not my department of helping this football team win. I will put it that way. So I know next to nothing about LSU. I just know that they are a good team. I respect Brian Kelly as a coach a lot. I think he's a very good coach of football on the gridiron, in between the whistles. And I just, I think it's going to be a tough one. I don't think you don't play a game like this in week 1 and just get to walk out of there. It's going to be a fight. Now, I don't know. Is it a fight where you end up coming out and winning by like 21 because just some of the ways we match up favor us? Yeah. Is it a fight where you come out and you lose by 10 because some of the ways you match up? Possibly. I don't know. But I believe in this team. I think this team, is good at football. And more importantly, I think it's a group of really impressive young men. And folks, I don't say that as like, someone who's watched a lot of football teams. I say that as someone who's spent a lot of time in some really, really high level companies and some big industries, and seen a lot of young people coming out of college with degrees from schools that frankly are far better than the school from which I got my degree, and seeing how they approach life in general, and then seeing how these young men approach it day to day, and how they talk about their goals, and how they talk about the things they need to get done, and how they talk about constantly improving. And I can tell you these are really, really impressive dudes, and it is hard for me to fathom that there is another group of young men out there that works harder than they do and approaches this with a better mentality than they do. And when you get into those dogfights, that's what ends up mattering. So I'm real excited to see it, but yeah.
So, folks, you heard it here first. Max is predicting a 30-point win. We're going to be blanking them out in Campbell World Stadium. We're going to be seeing the backups, the walk-ons are all going to be in there by fourth quarter. Max will be at. I'm just kidding, folks. But Max, it's always a pleasure. Before you go, please let the folks know how they can support the Battle's End, where they can find all your new content, and also if you have any things coming out very shortly, please let folks know what they're about.
Sure, man. So, folks, the Battle's End, like from the fight song, at the Battle's End, she's great. We are the NIL collective for Florida State. There are a couple things that matter for a football team, right? Do you have good players and good coaching? We got that. Do you have a good infrastructure around the university that supports those coaches, right? And the facilities those players need and all that? We have that. We have one of the best booster clubs in the nation. And nowadays it's going to be, do you have the NIL infrastructure to support players maximizing the value of their NIL while they're in college? Now, there's folks that say, oh, well, I don't know. I've heard this about NIL. I've heard this shady stuff happens. And I'm not going to lie to you and tell you it doesn't. But I am going to say the reason I left my job at the biggest consulting company in the world to do this a month before I'm having a second baby and giving away that paternity leave is not because I'm crazy, but because I'm committed, and I know the people around me are committed to making sure Florida State does NIL the right way. And if we can do that, we're going to have a self-sustaining and productive ecosystem, I guess one would say, for players to thrive in for many years to come, again, by doing it the right way. So I hope you all take pride in that and knowing that, you have a team of people who, to get that third pillar right, number one, players and coaches, number two, infrastructure, now number three, NIL, is done the right way and is done at an extremely high level. So if y'all want to be a part of that, which we would love your support, go to thebattlesin.com. You can also check our content out on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. I think we have Facebook, possibly. But I'm not a Facebook guy. But check out the content. Go to thebattlesin.com. Join the family. Support the team directly. It's a great thing to be a part of, and we'd be happy to have you. And stuff, coming up. I mean, we got the Orlando game. We're doing a golf tournament Saturday. Y'all can email membership at thebattlesin.com if you want more info about the golf tournament. But other than that, Driz, thanks for having me, dude. I love being here. It's very different from where it all began, but so similar at the same time.
I know it really is. Like 3 years ago? I was still in law school. Actually, no, I think I was studying for the bar. I was thinking of studying for the bar exam that got postponed twice. And then you were still over in Tampa.
No, I was in DC, man. When we recorded our first episode, my office setup. I now have like a full office in my house. I had my house that I own. I was in a 750 square foot rental as a part of like a quad unit thing, and I had like a desk in the living room, and it was just a very different setup. And we would have been thrilled to do anything that we felt like meaningfully impacted the team in any way, and now we've gotten to do that in several different ways. So it's been a fun journey, and it's just getting started, dude. But
it really is.
Yeah.
Well then, Max, in the interest of that, why don't you send us home?
I don't even know if I remember how to do it anymore, Driz, but
you never forget.
I honestly don't remember what my sign off used to be. I'm totally out. I forgot. What do I used to say?
It's turbo time.
Oh man, that was my yes. It's turbo time.
Have fun, folks. Good luck at the game.